Welcome, everybody, to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about Fernando Tatis Jr. And basically, the question is he the front runner for MVP right now? Now, it's very obvious. There are two guys in this race. Jacob deGrom, who is putting up a historic season as a starting pitcher. And I'll start this out by saying, because we are Padres fans, so not trying to discredit what Jacob deGrom has done at all. But I think right now, my take would be that Fernando is the MVP frontrunner, or should, maybe not the frontrunner, but he should be expected to win the award at the end of the year. Isaac, where are you at on this?
Well, the thing is, the pitchers already have their own award. Jacob deGrom can win the Cy Young, and I don't think that should be a knock on him. Cy Young, get the best pitcher in the league, best pitcher in the NL. And if we're going to look at, WAR is a pretty big advanced stat right now. Kevin Gausman actually has the same WAR, maybe even a little higher than Jacob deGrom. So, if there's another pitcher that's doing things just as good as he is there another player in baseball that's doing things just as good as Tatis is? That's a position player? No, Tatis has the highest WAR out of all the position players. Tatis leads the league in WAR, offensive WAR, slugging percentage on base plus slugging, runs scored, home runs, stolen bases. This is all while missing, 15 to 20 games? He's just going out there and he's putting up numbers, and this is one of the best shortstops. Keep in mind, he's playing at 75% right now. His shoulder is jacked right now. So he's probably going to need surgery in the offseason, and he's doing all this amazing stuff. Yes, you can say he has 16 errors, whatever it is. But most of those errors are coming just based off of he's trying to make an incredible play, and he just can't make the throw. Not to mention Eric Hosmer doesn't really help him in that department either. So, yes, you can bring up the errors, but it's also while he's trying to make some really good plays. And there was a poll 2 weeks ago from MLB.com that actually had Tatis as the number one front runner for the MVP. And yes, it was 2 weeks ago. But at the same time, how many starts has Jacob deGrom made in the past 2 weeks? I don't even think he's made one. In the past 3 starts, Jacob deGrom has allowed 3, 2, and 3, which by no means is that getting rocked. But in terms of what Jacob deGrom is, I was calling it deGrom rocked, where he was getting rocked by Jacob deGrom standards.
So basically, it was only a quality start.
Yeah, it was a quality start, exactly. And so, I think the last pitcher that I remember winning MVP was Clayton Kershaw. And if you look at their prime numbers, Clayton Kershaw never put up a season like this, where Jacob deGrom at one point was like a 0.5 ERA. He never put up a season like that. But if you look at their prime numbers, Clayton Kershaw's prime numbers are not significantly better, but they're better than Jacob deGrom's. And, I bring it up in terms of value. The MVP is touted the most valuable player. And I know we can only go based off this season, but Fernando Tatis, in my opinion, has provided a lot more value to the Padres than Jacob deGrom has, because, yes, you can't place, in baseball, you can't really place wins on one person, but Jacob deGrom plays 30 to 35 games for the Mets, if that, this year, because he's been getting hurt. So he probably won't reach that threshold. Fernando last year played 60. This year he's probably going to play, unless something bad happens, probably going to play around 140. And, he's every one of those games he's doing something special. We saw that Euro step against the Nationals. We saw 5 home runs in 4 games against the Dodgers. 3 games, against the Dodgers. And he's just doing these kind of moments every single week. It seems like we're seeing something new on Fernando Tatis. So in terms of value, I think Fernando provides more than Jacob deGrom does to the Mets. And, also a position player plays a lot more games than a pitcher. And I'm not saying a pitcher doesn't affect the win, the outcome of a game. The pitcher absolutely does affect the outcome of a game, but I think a position player affects the outcome of a whole season, maybe a little more. Maybe I'm a little biased. I was a position player, but, Jacob deGrom, 92 innings. Yu Darvish has 105. And I'm not saying Yu Darvish touches Jacob deGrom, but deGrom hasn't pitched as many innings as some of these guys have. And last we checked, Yu Darvish was, 13th in innings pitched last time we checked. So Jacob deGrom's even lower than that. So, that's why I think Fernando should win.
I think that's a really fair point, because the award is most valuable. And like we said, not trying to discredit what Jacob deGrom has been able to do. These are video game numbers. He has a 1.08 ERA, 146 strikeouts, and a .55 WHIP. That's absurd. But the problem is he's only pitched in 15 games, and he's only pitched 92 innings. And it's not like it's his fault. Like if he was able to sustain what he was doing early on in the season, and he was able to keep eating up a lot of these innings, then yeah, like if he's putting up and his numbers were what? It was under a 0.6 ERA for quite some time. Yeah. If he had a 0.6 ERA and threw 200 innings, I would be all for it. Give it to him. I don't care what the position players are doing. Probably the only other guy that you can bring up is Ohtani. Like, okay, like, yeah, he's pitching and he's hitting. So, like, you could talk about him potentially being him out. But he would definitely have the lead on Fernando Tatis. I think the problem is that we've seen that his numbers are slipping a little bit, still putting up terrific numbers. 1.08 ERA. That is ridiculous. But he's not pitching enough innings. Like, he's probably going to finish with around 150 innings pitched. That's not that great. And Tatis is the best base runner. That he leads in steals, does pretty much everything. Also, we came across this stat early on. He in his whole career, he's 49 of 60 on stolen bases. That is insane. Leading the league and leading the NL in pretty much all the hitting stats. And yes, the big thing is he leads league in errors. He only has -5 defensive runs right now and -2 outs above average. So like he's probably gonna at the end of the year, and this was coming from MLB TV too. They said they expect him to be pretty much league average in terms of fielding. Like, yeah, he has a lot of errors, but he's making a lot of plays that no one else is able to make. So if you're an average fielder and you are the best hitter in the league, you're going to lead the league in WAR. So that's the case. Like, that's the case right there. Also, other thing about Tatis's errors, Isaac, you brought up the shoulder injury, and you still see when he lays out for a ball, like, you see him wince in pain over it. Like, it happened last weekend. I think it was 11 errors in the 14 games after he got hurt. So, and I think he's at 19 errors right now too. So a lot of errors. But if you have 19 errors and 11 of those came right after you hurt your shoulder, and they were all from like this, you could tell it was the shoulder. Like he's like losing his footing and stuff. And like when he's getting up and like pushing off weird, like it was really affected by that left shoulder. So a lot of those are not really true to who he is. Last season, 60-game season, he had 1 error. He was one of the lead. I think he was the leader in outs above average. Like he was putting up great numbers. So I think at the end of the year, is Tatis going to have a great fielding season? No, probably going to be pretty much league average. That's where I'm projecting him to be there. And I think that's why I'm going to say he's the MVP right now, because if you're an average fielder, but you are putting up the best hitting, the best base running, and also let's not act like, oh, like base running is like a dead thing. Like the Padres, they're building a lot of their team based on, oh, we're going to steal a ton of bags. And I mean, when they scored 24 runs, that was their offense. Like early on in that game, they had a double steal where Hosmer ran halfway to second base, and I believe it wasn't Manny. Who was it? Someone ran home. I think it was maybe Cronenworth ran home and got home. Like that's happening like all over the place. Fernando's leading them in hitting and in base running. So like he's most of the reason they're able to do all these special things and putting up some really good team numbers as well. Also, just if you want a great stat, Fernando right now is hitting over 500 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. So put him in a spot where it's crunch time, he's going to capitalize. So I think right now Fernando is the MVP. And if you guys think Jacob deGrom is, like, I think that's fair. I just don't think his numbers are going to – I don't think he's going to have that impact that you would have to be a starting pitcher and win it. Because as we know, this is an award that is pretty much exclusively won by position players. And it's like the NFL. You rarely don't see a quarterback win the award. You're not going to see a defensive player win it. That's just kind of how it is. And that's why I think Tatis is going to win it. Right now, I think DeGrom has slightly better odds to win it, but I think that's going to change in about a month or so. But anything else you want to add, Isaac?
The last pitcher to win it was Clayton Kershaw, and before that it was, I forgot his name, but I think it was in 1968 when the last pitcher to win the MVP was. So things aren't favoring Jacob deGrom. He's on the IL right now with forearm inflammation. I think that's kind of been – I'm not a Mets fan, so I don't know what's going on with Jacob deGrom, but if I remember correctly, it was something else with his forearm not that long ago as well. We don't know how many innings he's going to pitch. It doesn't look like he's going to pitch a lot. There's guys like Yu Darvish, Kevin Gausman that might pitch more. So I think that kind of shows to me like, okay, you're not going out there and you're not providing enough innings. The Mets have to continue to win. The Mets have to continue to be, playoff worthy. I'm not saying this all falls on the pitcher, but when Clayton Kershaw won his award, the Dodgers were pretty damn good. They were in playoff contention. They were in the playoffs. So And I'm not saying this all falls on the pitcher, but he has to have an amazing rest of season. His numbers need to go down just a little bit, in my opinion. Obviously, a 108 is absolutely amazing, but 2, 3, and 2 is DeGrom rock. Let's be real here. Tatis has missed a lot of games. He still leads the league in home run, or not the league, the NL in home runs and steals. He the youngest player ever to go 20-20 by the All-Star break. And not to mention, there hasn't been a player in baseball to lead the league in, I think it was home runs and stolen bases, and I don't know how long. It's been a really, really long time. So if he does that, unquestioned MVP while missing all those games, we see, Matt brought up that he would end the season as an average fielder. I personally do not think he's an average fielder at all. Maybe, his stats will show after this year he will be an average fielder, but from the eye test, he is not an average fielder. He makes plays that are absolutely incredible. The double jump was just insane. I've never seen a player do that. So in terms of what Fernando's doing, at 75%, it's just one of the best, this is one of the best players I've seen in my life. Obviously, as a Padres fan, we haven't seen many good players, but, seeing Fernando is a breath of fresh air. The face of baseball, just a really good, he's a really good kid too. We saw all the Padres going out there helping those people out in Washington. So, just makes me like him that much more. But that's all I got on Fernando. 2021 NL MVP so far. I think everyone at MLB Network, obviously the polls show that he's the MVP. Pitchers already have their award. They can keep their award. Let this award go to the position player that absolutely deserves it.
Yeah, and I think there was also a couple other pitchers that won it. I'm pretty sure Verlander won it in 2011, but he had over an 8 WAR. Like, that's not going to be touched by DeGrom this season at least. And then I want to say Roger Clemens won it too. So it might have just been the AL. Like, it might have been a long time since this guy in the NL won it. But I know that it was the NL. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. And then you brought up Tatis. I think one of the things that people will talk about is like, oh, he's like a Javi Baez type of fielder. Like, no, dude, he's not. He's 22, injured, 11 errors in 14 games after being injured, and he's not throwing balls into the third deck. So I think that's a big difference there. But I mean, that's pretty much our case for it. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you guys think someone else is the MVP, I mean, the year's not over yet. We still got a lot of baseball, so I think that's totally fair. And we'd love to hear you guys' opinions as well. So let us know what you guys think in the comments, and hopefully Tatis wins this, because it'd be pretty special for all of the Padre fans out here and a 22-year-old baseball player to win MVP this season.